On the show this morning, do we have anything to talk about? Did anything happen over the weekend? The word after Saturday night 16-14 preseason opener, the win against the Arizona Cardinals was, quote, vanilla. Coaches and media were telling you not to believe your eyes. Unless it was good, then believe whatever you saw and go one step further. How do you distinguish between fantasy and reality? Do you want to even choose between the two? Vanilla or not, Trevor Penning needs more sugar, while Spencer Rattler needs someone to work on the brakes of his hype train. The defense shows promise, and that's a good thing because they might have to post multiple goose eggs this season for the Saints to be better than they were last year. We'll tell you the way it is, or the way we think it is in Derry's Dime. We'll hear from Dennis Allen and Willie Gay. There will be Monday Fun with Gabe. And in our extra point, we will compare other rookie quarterbacks' performances this weekend to our own. If you want hype, call the hotline. If you want reality, it's coming up next in the Dattitude podcast.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, New Orleans? And hello to my friends elsewhere, everywhere, out there who are ready for 1 hour full of talk, chock full of a wrap-up of the Olympic Games. Wait, what? Yeah, man. Basketball, soccer, gymnastics, Tom Cruise and the closing ceremonies. What he did was, man, he dove down. We're going to talk about that all this. Oh, wait. You want to hear about Spencer Rattler winning the quarterback job over Derek Carr and Clint Kubiak becoming head coach? How about we meet somewhere in the middle? Here we go. This is Dattitude, episode number 265, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, August the 12th, 2024. I am your host, Jim Derry. You know it. As always, whether you're watching on one of our NOLA.com social media channels or listening on demand after the fact to the pod, as always, I thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family, the growing Dattitude family. It's getting bigger by the day. We got some fans out there, some regulars out there this morning. They just chomping at the bit. A-Town. Monday. You can trust today because I got a lot to say. Jerry, where you at? Dylan, football is most certainly back. Good morning. You love your Saints, you fellow Hoodats. There are Hoodats all over the place. Patrick just can't wait for me to get into the dime. Any Penning can't stay on his feet. How do you miss so bad? Come on, man. We're not there yet. Rocket can't wait to talk. Man, y'all want to talk about Penning? I thought y'all want to talk about Spencer. Dylan, defense looked great. I don't know about Kubiak not being on the field. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Sav was arguing with my brother-in-law backstage at Soldier Field Friday night. All right. By the way, those of you don't know, and some of you may know who he is. Some of you don't know. He does the intro to our show. My brother-in-law is Phil Anselmo, lead singer for Pantera. There's my celebrity shout out for the morning. Anyway, he says, arguing about it for A.T. Perry. Said he wasn't going to be our number 3 receiver. Yeah, you might have lost that argument, although that's one I'm not sure that preseason one will tell us everything, but clearly A.T. Perry was maybe a little bit better than we thought. We're going to have lots of comments this morning. You can be a part of the show. As always, as I go along, it's Derry's Dime today. Gabe's coming on for a little bit after we talk about Evangeline Securities. Gabe's come on Mondays with Gabe. I have no idea what he's going to talk about this morning. It's good. It'll be fun. That'll be probably our respite, RESPIT. I know to say it. I mean, spell it. I just don't know how to say it, apparently. One respite from the Saints talk Or maybe he is going to talk about the Saints. I have no idea. That's coming up after we tell you about Evangeline in a minute. But first, we'll tell you that you can be a part of this show. This show from Mondays, from here on out, at least until after the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, it's Derry's Dime on Mondays. We need to come up with a catchy name. If any of you have any great ideas, let me know. I haven't found one yet that I like, at least not worth saying. But it'll be me and you and Gabe on Mondays. That's all we're doing. No guests. Some Mondays will be happy. Some Mondays we'll be pissed off. Some Mondays it'll be whatever. Some Mondays it'll be, oh, there it is again. But it's me, Gabe, and you. You can be a part of the show by typing in your comment on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching. Type it in if you're watching live. If you're not watching live, you can send me an email at jderry@theadvocate.com. You can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. And if you haven't already done so, you know the drill. Subscribe to our YouTube page, our ever-growing YouTube page. We are doing at least one short a day. Most of the time it's two, just kind of depending on what's going on. We put up our previews from last Friday on the AFC South teams. I have not put the short up on the Titans yet. That's coming later today. But there's plenty to talk about it, and especially every day going forward, the shorts are going to be even better than they were. You can only get those on YouTube or on TikTok. Yes, we still exist on TikTok. You can find us there. But look, I mean, Sean is on the Rattler train. Love that spin of the ball by Rattler. My 26-year-old son is goo gaga Spencer Rattler. And I'm not joking. He said this because he prefaced it. It took him about a minute to say it, but I knew he was going to say it, and I just let him go. I gotta, I'm not saying that this is who he is, but he really could be, and blah, blah, blah. And he looks like, and he throws the ball, and I'm like, just spit it out. He could be Patrick Mahomes. And you could stop smoking crack. I did not raise a son to use illegal drugs. I'm just saying. Stop smoking crack. Rattler train is off the rails. It's like Ozzy said, the crazy train. We're going to get to that. All that's coming up. I'm getting all these comments. I've got a bunch of comments on there. I'm going to get the comment. If you have made a comment, I'm telling you, it's coming. But there are a couple things I want to do first. I got to have a shout out, okay? Before give me some of you love the shout out. Some of you, like, if you're listening after the fact, you can press advance 30 seconds twice, and it's going to take me about a minute. We had a special birthday in the house this weekend. Ella Derry. Little Ella Derry. She's not little anymore. She's 13 years old. We had a great weekend. Her birthday was on August 10th. I think I told you, I don't know, one day last week, I was telling you about how the day she was born, 2 days later, we had to decide whether we were coming home on that Friday. Saints were playing the 49ers like they are this week in the preseason, or mom could stay one more day. She says, I think I'm ready to go. And I'm like, oh, we should go. Turns out she probably really wasn't ready to go. She holds that against me to this day. But little Ella, so that was 13 years ago. August 10th, 2011. So I know on August 12th, 2011, 13 years ago today, Saints are playing the 49ers in preseason. I have no idea who won. I don't remember the game. I don't remember what the big deal is. I don't know if Drew Reed played or not, but there you go. So happy belated birthday. We had a lot of fun this weekend, and it was good. It was good. Then I came home, watched the Saints game, and there were good things. There were bad things. Vanilla. That apparently is the word of coaches and media members who, that's their way of saying, don't believe all the bad things you saw, but believe the good things. Good things. That wasn't because of vanilla. It can overcome. Right? Chris, this is the first game. Must give him a break. I'm not going to get on him too bad. I'm really not. I'm going to tell you what I think I saw. I think part of the whole vanilla thing is true. As far as the offense goes, they're not going to show you any key plays that they're going to use in the regular season. Some of them are bread and butter plays that they're going to use. But for the most part, they're not going to show you anything important. I get that. It is vanilla. Dylan, thank you, by the way. Happy birthday to Ella. Randy wonders if the Saints-Niners game will be nationally televised. It is nationally televised. It is the Fox, this actual Fox crew. Now, I don't know which crew is going to do it. I don't know if it's the number one crew. Isn't Tom Brady on the number one crew now, Gabe? Yeah. So I don't know if it's the crew with Tom Brady. I have no idea. But I know that it is a national Fox game. It is not the Joel Myers and company, Joel Myers and Stinchcomb that do preseason. Boy, they had some issues. I love my friends at Fox 8, but apparently the Heat got all their stuff. They had to use the Cardinals feed. And so I think they were flying by the seat of, especially in the first quarter, they were flying by the seat of their pants. They didn't even know probably was going to be on the screen. But they ended up doing okay. Look, we've had our issues. Everyone does. So when you hit that live button, man, and a game's starting and you're not ready. I've done play-by-play this will be my 11th year of doing play-by-play. It'll be my 6th on VSN, which starts on September the 5th. Shameless plug. Shaw against Carr. I can't wait to do it. But I'm telling you, man, there have been many times when it's time to hit that live button and you ain't ready. Or the producer ain't ready, or the camera person ain't ready. Somebody's not, or this cord ain't connected. It happens, man. Even in the big time, it happens. But Fox 8 had it looked a little bit like Trevor Penning, maybe. Before we get to the talk of Evangeline in Morning with Gabe, some news this morning, or at least I heard it this morning. I think it came out yesterday afternoon. Dennis Allen was talking to the media and talking about how joint practices this week with the 49ers. I think they're going to be tamed down a little bit. The Niners are dealing with some injuries. He said he just talked to Kyle Shanahan, I think yesterday morning. They might not have enough players to go through all the drills that they want to do. So I think that what they were planning on and what they will have with Saints 49ers joint practices, they're not going to even start those until Thursday. And it wouldn't surprise me where are they practicing in Palo Alto? I'm not sure. Wherever that is, wherever the 49ers are practicing, they're going there. And they very well could be tamed down a little bit. So I don't know if we're going to get as much out of that as we thought. The Saints, obviously, they play 49ers on Sunday, again on Fox, the national game. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday. We'll probably find out more. Saints are off today. There is no practices scheduled for today, so they're taking a much-needed day off. They did practice yesterday. We'll hear clips later on from 2 from Dennis Allen and 1 from Willie Gay. That was the 2 from Allen are the day after, and I thought it was more important to take those clips than to take the ones right after the game, because the clips from yesterday and after practices, he had time to lament on the film that he saw. And I got to be honest, DA gets a lot of crap, but one thing I will say is, he obviously feels more comfortable in the role, and he's more candid than Sean Payton by far. He doesn't always tell you up front, and this has been one of my problems with the Saints for a long time, is they don't ever tell you anything. But Allen will tell you things if you can read tea leaves and tell you through the lines. Dennis Allen will do that. He's good at it. And so there were some comments, one particular about Penning. Look, he's pretty straightforward. He also says, we'll get to this clip, that I think that they know who the number 2 quarterback is. The number 2 quarterback, obviously, as you see there, going to be a big part of the show. Going to be a big part of what we talk about. Is the Rattler hype real? How much of it is real and how much of it is just people wanting it to be real? And I have no problem with that. If you're in the Rattler hype train, look, there's definitely reason to be hyped about him. But I think we need to cool our jets just a little bit. I'll give you my opinion, take it for what it's worth, on what this past weekend meant on the number 2 quarterback situation. But again, when you hear Allen's clip coming up in a few minutes, and they ask him specifically, did this game do anything for your opinion on who the number 2 quarterback is? He says yes. Now, he doesn't tell you who it is, and he goes into his coach speak after that. But he says, yes, I think he knows who the number 2 quarterback is. It doesn't mean anything what we think. It doesn't matter one iota what I think, what you think, what anybody thinks. But it's fun. And I will say this, and here, as Randy says, 100%. I love the quarterback 2 battle. I think it's fun. No matter who wins the job, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, doesn't matter. Whether you're right, whether you get what you want. Now, there's some really ridiculous, insane, stupid comments. I don't think they're Dattitude watchers or listeners, but some that I saw this morning, one in particular that I said I'm going to read, that kind of like encapsulates some of the who dat BS hype. I'm going to get to it in a minute. All right. We'll get a whole show worth of Saints. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have at least a 45-minute show, if not longer today. Again, I want to talk about the defense as well. We touched on Willie Gay. Thought he had a great game. Shows you how important he's going to be to this team. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the kicker battle a little bit. So in a little bit. And then the extra points can be a good one. We're going to compare some other rookie quarterbacks. I know Jake Haener's not a rookie, but we're going to compare him to the Haener-Rattler quarterback battle. Got a few comments on that. That's my extra point today. But first, as the weekend of football preseason has ended, for the diehards of 32 NFL teams, there are visions of hoisting that Lombardi Trophy in the Superdome on February the 9th. Coincidentally or not, our friends at Evangeline Securities have offices right across the street. Think about the long-term goal for any business owner, and it's not much different than that of any NFL player. Going out a winner. Evangeline can help you do that if you have been pondering selling your family-run or privately held business. Their managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt, will start with what might be the toughest challenge of all, figuring out what your business is worth. Going forward, they will maximize the value of your business by scheduling a complimentary valuation. By the way, Nick and Ron both grew up in New Orleans, and after some time at big-time business schools, the ones that, no, Derry, get out of here. They went to the hustle and bustle of New York City. Then they came home to help the people who need them, the people they love here in New Orleans. They have offices on Poydras Street and in Lafayette. More on this later in the show. But in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, it's time for the fun part. Again, plenty of comments in there. We're going to spend, and I know that most of you want to talk about Rattler and Haener. And we're going to get, I promise, all these comments on Rattler and Haener, we're going to have plenty of them. First AP poll has been released, says Gabe Henderson. And LSU is number 13 in the AP poll. They're number 12 in the coaches poll. Top 5, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama. No surprises, really. None of that really matters. We'll talk more about college football in the next couple of weeks. But today, Mondays with Gabe Henderson. Good morning, sir. Hope your weekend was great. And I'm ready for you to surprise me with some kind of nonsense.
So I was going to actually, if you hadn't gotten to it, I was going to read out the AP poll, and I was going to tell people to get out their whiteboards because we've got a lot of numbers today. Two other things that I want to cover real quick before we jump into mine. To answer your question from earlier, your inquiry, really. 13 years ago, the New Orleans Saints beat the San Francisco 49ers 24-3.
There you go. See, I knew it, though. I knew that they played that day.
Yep, they did. Saints dominated that game. Garrett Hartley had a few field goals. Joseph Morgan had a 78-yard punt return. Mark Ingram even had a touchdown run, and so did Chris Taylor. Exciting stuff. There you go. And then as far as Randy earlier, who was asking about nationally televised games, one thing that I want to plug right here is anyone who doesn't know about this great website, who needs or who wants to know weekly schedules for the NFL, MLB, any other major sports, 506 Sports. Check them out every week. They update it all the time. Yep. They've got TV crew info, just TV info. They break down which region each NFL game is shown in. It's fantastic. It's a great tool. So if you're ever wondering, check that out. But I use it all the time. Yep, me too. To get into today, Stetson Bennett started the Los Angeles Rams, as I know you're going to talk about her later, and that brought out the Georgia fans. Not the number one ranking. Stetson Bennett, their Lord and Savior, starting for the Rams. And let me just say, we need to ostracize people who think that wins are great quarterback stats. Obviously, there are some exceptions. When you're trying to legitimize a career like Tom Brady has the most touchdowns of all time, I believe, most yards. I mean, he's got records on records on records, so wins can be stacked onto that. But in terms of mediocre quarterbacks, you can't really give him wins. There's only one quarterback that I've seen almost single-handedly will his team to a championship, and that's Cam Newton at Auburn.
Yet there are somewhere, somehow, some way. There are
Spencer Rattler has yet to start. So
there are people on the Stetson Bennett hype train. I promise you.
So my main point is this. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that Stetson Bennett is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah,
because he won 2 championships. And to this, I ask those people: is Trent Dilfer one of the greatest NFL starting quarterbacks of all time? He's one of 34 unique starters to win a Super Bowl. And in said Super Bowl, he went 12 for 25 for 153 yards and a touchdown. He had one of the greatest defenses the league has ever seen.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely ridiculous. When you're looking at Stetson Bennett, to call him one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, it's just a farce. He's got 66
You're a
touchdowns,
hater, man. You're still pissed that TCU got their asses kicked and you had to paint your face.
I'm not. I just don't.
That clip is somewhere, by the way. We got to find that clip.
It is. My friends get a bunch of uses out of the
I'm sure
the L on my face. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. Don't get me wrong. But we cannot sit here and say that Stetson Bennett is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in college when he's not even the best quarterback to attend the University of Georgia in the last 15 years. Aaron Murray was much better. He had 121 touchdowns to Bennett's 66.
Oh no, man! What did
just
Aaron
because
Murray,
he won
man?
a title because he was carried by a team that is one of the best the sport's ever seen? I don't get it.
I have mixed feelings on this. I don't think Stetson Bennett's ever going to be a pro quarterback, but at the same time, let's just we need to slow rolls on whether someone's going to be great or someone's not going to be worth a damn because we watched a preseason game. I don't
absolutely. Know. He was horrible in the preseason game, by the way.
Well, I mean, he didn't
even mention that. He had 4 picks.
Moments. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. He's going to be part of the extra points. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but look, I hear you. I'm not hyping nor dishyping anyone at this point. And it goes again. We're going to lead into Spencer Rattler because we're going to talk about that. That's not the main focus of today. And you see his numbers on the screen: 9 of 17, 70 yards, no touchdowns, had a rushing touchdown. But there were parts I thought were really good about Spencer Rattler. I'm like, okay, that's good. But there were also parts where, I don't know. There's a reason why the dude had a 60% passer rating. I mean, completion percentage in college in the SEC. I don't know. We'll see.
He was good at South Carolina.
It was fine. Look, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you, there are so many comments. I want you, if you can go through, and not going to be able to scroll back all the time, but when I get to a certain point, when I get to the Rattler stuff, go back from the beginning of Rattler and post any comments, and I'll comment on them. So
yeah, I will say the one comment I do want to show before I go.
Okay.
What really grinds my gears with Gabe. I like that.
That is good. That should be a song, A-Town. I think maybe we'll make a song out of that. Can't wait to see.
If you're going to get me talking about Spencer Rattler and Stetson Bennett and Bo Nix every week.
Yeah. Well, we'll have fun. I can't wait to see what you got for me on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Mondays and Wednesdays with Gabe, and there we go. We'll see you. We'll see you on Wednesday. All right, it's time for the dime. Moment you've all been waiting for. My take on today. Look, first off, I think I kind of said this earlier. I listened to a few pods after I listened to our Saints Insider show from beginning to finish. And one thing that they're doing here on NOLA.com and on our Saints Insider page is, and I'm going to do a short on this after every game when the regular season starts, because I will be on the dome floor. I'll be, whenever the Saints are at home, you can catch me on the post-game Saints Insider show. Usually I come on with Zach Ewing and talk about my instant reaction until the beat writer guys are out of the locker rooms and such and come on. So I'll go on with Zach, and it's pretty much about 10 minutes after the game's over, we're on the air live. So anyway, Zach did this remotely. He had Rod Walker on, and then he had a couple of the other guys, the Saints beat writer guys, and they were talking about it. Now, I thought they were a little bit more positive than I would have been, but there were a couple other pods that I listened to. I'm like, man, vanilla in my ass, okay? I don't care what you say. You've got to be able to distinguish between what is real and what is not. And one thing I gotta start with Penning, okay? I watched the first quarter of that game. I've now watched it 3 times, okay? And I watched it. I'll watch the same play. Like the last time I watched the same play 2 or 3 times to watch different people along the offensive line. I'm going to say this. Penning was awful. But I'm not sure I'm still not sure he was awful because he can't play or if because he just completely lost his confidence. Because there are times when there's no question the guy has athletic ability. Dylan says better to be finding someone to replace Penning. I don't think they're going to have I don't think they have a choice. I don't know that he can regain his confidence. There were times when he just looked lost and he goes out to block someone. There was one play, and I think it was a screen pass attempt, and I think it was when Haener was in there. But he goes out to block, and there's no one where he is, and he kind of like takes a couple steps forward and stands there and just like looks like, what am I supposed to do? You should know what you're supposed to do. It wasn't always him just getting beat. I just don't think he knows what to do. Now, you could say that's the coaching staff's fault, but I know this. One thing, there's a big difference, and I've said this before. When you're talking about offensive linemen, you drafted these O-linemen, and they wanted to move up to get Trevor Penning. They thought he was going to be. There's one thing about when you're this dominating left tackle at Northern Iowa playing no one and dominate. You don't have to have schemes. You don't have to know where you're supposed to be or who to block. You just do it because you're playing guys that are, 2 steps out of high school, and you're that much bigger and stronger than they are. That doesn't work in the NFL. And I get why they wanted to pick him. And when they did pick him, I didn't bash the pick. I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and tell you, I think that was a terrible pick, because at the time when they picked him, I didn't necessarily think it was a terrible pick. But here we are 3 years going into the 3rd year of Trevor Penning. And I know he's hurt for most of his first season. The dude just lost. He has no confidence. Could he ever be something if he regains that confidence? I mean, the good news if you're Trevor Penning is he's probably almost certainly not going to get cut because of his rookie deal. Bryant says Trevor Penning is TP is in the stuff you wipe with. Off balance, slow of foot, and any counter move on the pass rush, he is toast. I don't know if I fully agree with you, Brian, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he has the athletic ability to be in the NFL. I see the athletic ability. Okay. I just think he has no confidence, and his ass has been kicked so many times, and he's been told so many times he's terrible. I'm not telling you he could be rejuvenated, because personally, I don't think he can be. I think Dennis Allen should be in I don't want to say panic, but it's time to say it's either Landon Young or Oli Udoh. And Udoh was bad, but he was playing guard, and that's not probably where he should play. He's a tackle, and his best position is right tackle. So I think you need to see Udoh in the joint practices or whatever practices they have this week. And I think you certainly need to see him more, and he needs to play right tackle, whether it's with the first team or whether it's with the second team. I know Landon Young was in there. Landon Young is more, though, kind of the James Hurst of this line. Landon Young can play anywhere. He can fill in it left guard. He can play right guard if Ruiz gets hurt. He can play right tackle. He can play left tackle if he absolutely had to. Oli Udoh, I think, is the most suitable player to play right tackle, and I think we need to see if he can do it. He can't be worse, man. He just can't be worse. And so I'm not going to sit here and harp on Penning more than I have to, because you all saw the same things I saw. I mean, you all saw the same things I saw. What did Dennis Allen think? I told you in the beginning of the show, or somewhere thereabouts, that Allen was fairly candid. Again, you have to read through the tea leaves. No coach is gonna come out, for the most part. It happens every now and then, but for the most part, no coach is gonna come out and say this guy sucks. Okay, but listen to the words carefully, especially the second half when he is directly asked about Penning. He starts off with his comments about how Saturday night went, and you think that with a 16-14 win, even if it's preseason, he was not positive. He was not necessarily keeping it positive, brother. No, he was telling you we got a lot of crap to work on, and so does Trevor Penning.
I think after going back and looking at the tape, I thought there was a number of things that we did well. There's certainly a lot of things that we've got to improve on. Look, I don't think anybody had any false notion about there's going to be a transition offensively. With a new scheme, some new players, new play caller. I mean, all those things are just part of the reality of when you have that much turnover. And so, did we execute at the level that we wanted to on every play? No. But yet, that to me, that's your first shot out. And hopefully as we continue to go, that the next time we get an opportunity to go out there and play under the lights, we'll be better in that situation. I'm not going to get into all the details of what we're teaching from a technique standpoint or from a schematic standpoint. Look, I would say there was some good things that Trevor did. I think there's some things that he's still got to work to improve on. It's his first, game playing right tackle, so I'm not overly concerned about that right now. And yet I think we all understand that we've got to improve, and that's what we'll be out here working to do.
That was the nice way of saying he's got about another week before his ass is relegated to the bench for a long time. I mean, that is about as candid as a coach can be about telling you a player sucked. And look, I want him to be rejuvenated. They've got to be. It sucks to have. The Saints have had many first-round draft picks throughout their history. You guys and ladies as old as I am know this. There have been many first-round draft picks who have been flops. It's not just the Saints. The Saints seem to have more of their fair share than others. But look, if the guy's a flop, it's kind of like, losing a hand in poker that you completely misplayed, but you're still in it. You can't think about what you screwed up already. You got to move on. And at some point in the near future, if they can't get any more out of this dude, they got to move on. Again, you don't have to cut him because he's on his rookie contract, and that runs through the end of next year. So if they cut him, they just completely don't believe that he can do anything. Whether they will or not, I don't know. The positive that I saw, there is positive from this O-line, as bad that first team O-line. And I will say that at first glance, when I first watched it live, I didn't think Fuanga did very well. But then when I watched it again, I'm like, you know what? I take it back. I thought there were moments in there where he showed why he is potentially going to be a solid starting tackle, whether it's on the left side or the right side. I don't know. But I was impressed by some of the things he did. I think he's obviously needs to learn a little bit more, and is kind of, I don't want to say lost isn't the right word. He's not lost like Penning, but there were some things he did. He made some mistakes on where he was supposed to be, but looking at it again, I liked what I saw from Fuanga. I still don't know who's going to play left guard. Jerry says next O lineman will be Penning if Penning is released. Who's the next O lineman? I mean, look, Jerry, I mean, I'm kind of begging right now. The fan part of me is begging them to go sign someone. But I think that you may see there's potentially, if they don't sign one of the free agents that Larry and I talked about the other day, if they don't sign one of the current free agents, I think they might wait and see who gets cut. Because I got to be honest, somebody that gets cut, a lot of people who get cut are going to be better than Trevor Penning. There are probably a couple guys who get cut who might be better at tackle than anything we have right now. So we'll see. We're going to talk more about the O-line. Look, this show, it is preseason. One thing about preseason is, look, I really don't want regular season's different. If they suck about something, I might spend a whole show talking about something that sucks. But there's plenty to be positive. There really is. That, to me, was mostly the only negative. There are a couple other little things here and there. I'm concerned about the running backs not named Alvin Kamara. People were talking about, Jordan Mims was okay. 10 carries, 38 yards. Probably got the number 3 job locked up. Jamaal Williams had one nice run, I thought. Other than that, he didn't do much. I think he had 6 or 7 carries. Kamara played 3 or 4 plays, which I don't want to see him in the game anyway. A.T. Perry, I thought was outstanding. And all the talk that I've heard about A.T. Perry in camp kind of not showing up and not being great, I think those were, maybe overplayed a little bit. But I thought A.T. Perry was really – somebody said something about A.T. Perry earlier, and I agree. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be wide receiver 3, but I don't think it matters. I think it'll be wide receiver 3.5, if that makes any sense. I think he and Cedric Wilson, depending on what the play formation is or what play it is, I think both of those guys are going to be kind of the sharing wide receiver 3 duties. We'll see. I know this. There are guys that need to get in there that haven't been in there. They're done. They're going to be toast. They're going to be done. All right, let's get into the Rattler-Haener part of this show. And I'll get into the hype train portion of the show in a minute. Cherry's calling him the rattlesnake. First off, just look at their numbers. And they're on the screen right here. Jake Haener, 9 of 13 for 107 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. However, I know. Anyone who doesn't think this, sorry, I'm completely disagree with you. You're entitled to your own opinion, great. But I don't agree with you. I think clearly the best play of the game. It's not a debate. It's not close. Was Jake Haener's throw before halftime. And, I joked about my 26-year-old son and comparing Rattler to Mahomes earlier. And before that throw, he's just railing on Haener. He just hates Haener because he loves Rattler. It's hilarious. He's railing on, for about a quarter, before Haener even got in the game, he's railing on. Big Sean says it has to be Rattler. Why else would we have drafted him if we had that much confidence in Haener? Because it was the 5th round? Period. It was the 5th round. So going back to my comment on this pass, calling him the pea shooter and then jokingly calling him the split pea shooter. And he has no arm, blah, blah, blah. He's got a noodle arm. And then he just rails this. It went 62 yards in the air. Officially, it was a 58-yard pass. It would have been a touchdown pass had A.T. Perry realized how much in bounds he was. I think A.T. Perry thought he was almost out of bounds. And you saw him kind of shake his head like I could have scored in that play. Would anyone's opinion be different had A.T. Perry scored in that play and it had been a 70-yard, whatever, 75-yard touchdown pass? Probably not. There are so many people with their minds made up already. You can go show some of the other comments, Gabe. Melanie Michael Carter. First time I've seen the Saints look like an offense, meaning under Rattler. With Rattler. What did Rattler? Here's my question to the Rattler lovers, and I want you to answer this question. He, she, I'm not sure if it's Melanie or Michael talking. So Rattler, I love the control, the poise, the command, and the control. He's going to be a great watch. This is a serious question. I'm not being funny. I'm not being a jackass when I ask this question. I want to know what I would be willing to bet that a majority of the people watching the show and listening right now are on the opinion that Rattler should be number 2. Okay. I personally want you to answer this question, and don't answer it with some BS answer. Tell me why you think Rattler should be number. What did you see? And if it's because of anything you saw on Saturday night, Rattler shows field awareness. So does Haener. He can feel the pocket. So can Haener. Haener also moved out of the pocket and escaped pressure. Love the spin of the ball by Rattler, Sean says. I do too, actually. But what about Spencer Rattler you saw on Saturday night? I saw so many comments, and there was one in particular that was a comment before we went on the air that didn't show up here, because if you type in the comment before we go on the air, it doesn't usually show up unless it's right before. Greg McSwain wrote, the debate for number 2 quarterback should not be hard. Carr is a solid number 2. Number 1 is the question. There are actually people out there, and I saw this all over X, and it was really hard for me not to respond because I didn't want to be a smartass. There are legitimately people. I'm not saying they're legitimate. There are actual people who believe that Spencer Rattler not only has made that leap over Haener, but he should start over Derek Carr. I'm going to say this as nicely as I possibly can. Dude, put the pipe down. Derek Carr, if he goes down at any point in this season for an extended period of time, someone else asked me, I think Saturday evening or yesterday morning, I can't remember. What do I think the Saints would do? Like, what do I think right now what they would do if Carr went down and was going to be out for an extended period of time? I think that if he were only going to be out for a game or two, it would be whoever the number 2 quarterback is going to be, whether it's Haener or Rattler. But I think if he was going to be down for an extended period of time, I don't think that it would be either one of these guys. I think they would go out and find a veteran that could come in and play. I don't necessarily think it would be Nathan Peterman, which is who they had been before. But there's going to be somebody on the free agent market that's out there. Hell, maybe even talk Teddy Bridgewater coming out of retirement. I don't know. But I'm just telling you that I think if something happened to Derek Carr for a long period of time, Randy says he loves the quarterback 2 battle nonetheless. 100% agree. I think it's fun. But I don't think that they would go to either one of these guys if it was going to be a long period of time. But that being said, there are a lot of things that Rattler did that I was impressed by. Look, Melanie Michael says the huddle command. I'm not sure. I don't know if I agree with that. The huddle command. I'm not sure that we saw enough of him to have a huddle command. Look at Spencer's last drive. That was our offense. What about the 4 drives before that when they had to punt? That doesn't matter. Let's talk about that last drive for a minute, by the way. Again, I'm just trying to tame the hype. I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler can't be better than I think he's going to be, because he can be. There were great things that I saw from him. I thought that the play that he scored on, it was nowhere near as great as the hype train lovers thought it was. However, that being said, I thought he escaped the pocket well. I thought he did a good job. He took a hit and still found a way to score. Didn't reach the ball out. Could have made the mistake to reach the ball out. That could have turned into a fumble, and he didn't do that. I thought he did an excellent job on that. Rattler has a stronger arm, has command of the Big Sean says Rattler has a stronger arm, has command of the offense, has the ability of using his legs better than the other 2 quarterbacks. That's a fine opinion. I don't necessarily know that a stronger arm is that important if the other quarterback can throw the ball 60 yards or 65 yards. I just don't. Melanie Michael says the players don't move for Derek the way they got up there. Come on. It was a 3rd string offense against a 3rd string defense. They don't move any different. Those guys are fighting for their jobs. The people that Spencer Rattler were playing with, 80% of them aren't going to be on the 53-man roster. You're comparing apples to tiger dung. It doesn't make a difference. You can't compare with Spencer Rattler, who he was playing with, against who he was playing against, as to what Derek Carr wasn't. Derek Carr is the starting quarterback, first of all. Get any dreams, any possible figments of your imagination, your pipe dreams, whatever they may be, get them out of your skull. Derek Carr is the starting quarterback of this team, barring injury, for 17 games. And if he isn't, it means the team's 2-8 and they stink. And Dennis Allen's fired. I know a lot of you can't wait for that. You're ridiculous. Go into the season with hope. If they don't move the same way, why they look like first stringers. Tell me who was on the offensive line. Don't go cheat. Don't look. I want you to tell me who was on that offensive line when Spencer Rattler was playing. I dare you. You have no idea. I don't even know. Because it doesn't matter. They won't be playing. They won't be on the roster, most of them. I want to see Rattler play. And I almost hope Derek Carr doesn't play Sunday. I think it's 50-50 whether he will or won't. Because the way they've been doing the rotating, and I would assume it's not going to change now, but Rattler is most likely going to start this game if Carr doesn't. Let's see what Rattler can do with a number one offense against the number one defense, at least for a little while. Now, the Niners are really banged up, so it may be mostly their number two defense, but I don't care. Their number two defense is as good as a lot of other teams' number one defenses. So let me see. Jared agrees with Big Sean. I know most people of you know why you love Spencer Rattler? Because he's different. Because there are things that he can do that other quarterbacks can't on this roster. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that even though Haener can get out of the pocket and move, there's no doubt that Spencer Rattler is more mobile than either one of the other two. I don't question that at all. I think Rattler probably has a slightly stronger arm than the other two. Is it significant enough for me to care? Maybe. I think that, but what I don't think any of us know is, in the NFL, I don't think you can judge where his decision-making is yet. And I can tell you this. There were plays he made, and I just admitted it, Melanie, Michael. I admitted that I think he is a slightly stronger arm than the other two. I said that when you first posted it. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I agree. Look, I love all your opinions. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong about Spencer Rattler. I hope that he's so damn good that the Saints going into next year say, you know what? We're going to eat that $25 million dead cap hit of Derek Carr. I honestly do. And he comes in and he turns out to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league and is exciting and breathes life into this team. I'm trying to temper what I think is ridiculous enthusiasm. Brian says Rattler-Haener are about the same at this point. Allen put it out there with whichever quarterback runs the offense the way it's supposed to be run will be quarterback two. That leads me to this. Think Rattler is Kubiak's guy. I don't. I think in this case, I think the job was Haener's to lose when he got in. And he has done nothing to lose this job. I think Haener was better than Rattler, in my opinion, in the game. Even at worst, it was a tie. And I don't care about the numbers. A part of the 107 yards that he threw for was that long pass. So I'm not necessarily using that long pass but I want you to listen to this clip. I kind of teased to it earlier, Dennis Allen talking about it. And we got to move on because I've been on for a long time. And I knew we were going to talk about Rattler. And I knew there were going to be a lot of comments. But listen to this, okay? I think there are minds made up already, okay? And I think what's significant about the order that they've used, I want you to hear me out. Use your listening ears. Don't just say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Listen to this. if you want to know who number 2 is. Again, it's fun and it could change. I think that Allen's already made up his mind. And if you look at the rotation he's used it specifically for a reason. There's a reason why Haener was number 2 first, because Rattler is going to be number 2 first in the second game. Whoever starts the third preseason game at home against the Titans, I think is going to be the number 2 quarterback. I might be wrong. It may not turn out that way, but I think he set it up so that it'll be Haener, Rattler, Haener. Sean says, I think Rattler's ceiling is higher based on his overall potential. Would like to know how this game looks with 1s or 2s. And I agree. I would go put that back up real quick. Put that back, the other one back up real quick. I would let him sit this season so he can develop more. That may happen. I don't disagree with that at all. I also think Rattler has a higher ceiling, but he also has a much lower floor. He's the gambler. He's the gambler. If you want him as your number 2 quarterback and you think you want him to come in, then you're going with the gambler. Big Sean, Rattler's arm is kind of significantly stronger. You're kind of contradicting yourself than Haener's. I see it only slightly, if not equally, as strong as Carr's. What have you seen that makes you think that it's that much stronger than Haener? How much further can he throw than 62 yards in the air? Can he throw it 82 yards? That, to me, that's significant. Again, let's listen to this. You can tell by the DA postgame presser that Haener is number 2. So can I. That's my point. Let's listen to the presser. This is actually yesterday and not the postgame presser. He's already got his mind made up. And again, like I say, that's why I'm trying to tame the hype a little bit, because I think the mind's made up. I think it's Haener. Okay, again, whether I think it should be Haener or it should be Rattler, I get your point why it should or shouldn't be. But listen to this, and you tell me what you think after.
I thought both of them did some good things. I thought both of them operated out there with poise. Both guys, led a 2-minute drive, which resulted in points for our team. I think both of them had some things just from an operational standpoint that we can improve on. But I was pleased with what I saw out of both those guys. And now, okay, how do we build on it? Where do we go from here? How do we get better next week? So I expect both of those guys to, again, get some significant playing time in this upcoming preseason game. And, I expect both of them to learn from whatever mistakes they made and improve on them.
You think you have a better feel for if you have a backup quarterback on this?
Yeah. But I think we're talking about, call it a dozen practices and one preseason game, So let's put some days and some games and stack them a little bit, and we'll evaluate where we're at. I'm encouraged. I really am. But I'm not in a place to make any decisions on that right now. I'm encouraged by what I saw out of both those guys, and I want both those guys to continue to go out there, and compete. And so, and that's what they'll do.
Want to say Big Sean, Melanie Michael, Jerry, whoever's out there that I've kind of disagree with. I love this. I want you guys to comment, keep maybe not necessarily, today, if you got more to say, fine. But this is what I want on Mondays. I want a back and forth with the people who watch the show, whether you're a regular or not a regular, whether you come in, or watch every other show or every now and then or whatever. This is what Monday is going to be about, the back and forth between us. Brian says he thinks that Haener should be the guy. Can you either cut here's the deal with what's going to happen. I will say this about Rattler. I think that he's played himself into a position to where they can't put him on the practice squad. you're exposed if you're on the practice squad. And I think he's made it to where he has legitimate ability. And I don't necessarily think he's gonna be on the practice squad now. I think he might be a part of the 53-man roster. Now, I think that he'll mostly be the emergency quarterback and one of the inactives per se. So that's what I think is going to happen. And I think Haener will be number 2. This is what I think of but again, I think Rattler has earned a spot on this roster. One thing that Rocky says, there's no way anyone can be upset with this good of a competitive QB2 race. Only makes the team better. I'm not sure what Kelly's talking about. Kelly, you think you already made it to the Super Bowl? Huh? Kelly, you haven't watched the show very much. If you think I think the Saints are going to the Super Bowl, welcome to the show, and thank you for jumping in and your first 1 minute ever watching Dattitude. I appreciate it. Because anyone who's watched the show for longer than 5 minutes knows I don't think the Saints are going to the Super Bowl. All right, look, we're going to talk more about this Wednesday. Eric Asher's coming on. We're going to spend a big part of this show talking about the Carr Rattler debate, because I actually think, the Carr. It's not a Carr Rattler debate. The Haener, little slip there. The Rattler-Haener debate, because I actually think, and I don't know, I'm going on Eric's show this afternoon at 4:35. Maybe I'll ask him. I don't know. But we're going to record the segment on Tuesday because he's got something to do Wednesday. But I will have plenty time for you guys to be a part of the show again on Wednesday. I'll have an extended monologue. We're going to have Wednesdays with Gabe. But I'm going to ask Eric. I think Eric's on the Rattler train. Okay. So there will be likely a differing of opinion. Again, I love it. I love the differing opinion. And the fact that we're even talking about this is so much different than what we've had in years past, right? I mean, last year, the debate was about Jameis and why was he even on this team? Why were you spending $8 million on a backup? And as much as I like Jameis and thought he got a raw deal here, I'm not going to go to all those. Every time I talk about Jameis numbers, I don't know why y'all hate Jameis so much, man. Y'all need to get off of that. Be very interesting if he comes into the dome and he's able to, if something happens to Sean Watson, what is it, week 11, the Browns come to the dome or somewhere along those lines. That would be quite interesting. It's a whole different story. But again, we're going to talk more about this Wednesday. There are more things to talk about today. Walt says, defenses for real. Dome Patrol 2.0. Now, that's some hype, my friend. That is some hype. Dome Patrol 2.0. I don't think they're that good, but I will say this. They're pretty damn good. And so Jerry says defense was great. Dylan says defense looked great. He doesn't, we talked about this earlier, don't know about Kubiak not being on the field. Yeah, if in case you didn't realize that Clint Kubiak was upstairs. I think that's just something they're trying. I think when this comes down to the season, I don't really think you want your offensive coordinator in the booth. Now, I get why you would. He can see more, but especially in the dome. The dome is so high up where the press box is. I don't see that lasting into the regular season. We'll see. Foskey was a ghost in this game. Foskey has been a ghost since he got here. That's why a few weeks ago when I was telling you, Peyton Turner didn't do a ton in this game, but I thought it was very noticeable when Peyton Turner was playing. He was kind of like in that 1B group. When the 1As were done, Peyton Turner was playing a little. I think Peyton Turner's made this team. I told you a few weeks ago, I think someone who we're not talking about could be a factor and make his presence known. You want to talk about number one picks who haven't done anything? I think Peyton Turner could finally do something. Again, that's a big if because we still don't know if he can stay healthy or not. Got a long way to go to stay healthy. But I loved a couple guys we haven't even mentioned. I thought Kool-Aid was great. He wasn't in there very long, but he made a couple of big plays. He made a big stop on a third down that forced the punt, an open field tackle, and he was excited about it. Should have been. I thought Brian Brzee was a beast. Now he's been getting. We've said he hasn't looked great in the preseason, but I mean in camp. But I thought he was outstanding in the preseason game. He got a little extended playing time, and then Willie Gay. Look, Pete Werner just got his contract extensions a little banged up. He didn't play. I thought Willie Gay was wonderful and showed that not only can he be a third linebacker, but I think you're going to have to find ways to get all three of them on the field at different times. And also another good thing about it is when DeMario, look, you don't want DeMario playing every snap like he's been playing. He's getting too old for that. So I feel great, confident, wonderful. I think Willie Gay will be able to step in and he's going to play 60, 70% of snaps, maybe more. And I love this guy's attitude. I love what he said in his post-game press conference. And that's the only player clip we got today. And I wanted to show it because I just think it's fun. And I really like this guy.
Just do my job. I want them to look at the film and say, well, one thing about Six, he's going to do his job and he's going to run to the ball. You won't make a spectacular play every game. You won't make the biggest hit every game. But if you do your job, be in position. And like Coach D.A. said, if you look right, you'll do right, And I like to be consistent at doing my job. And when you do that, the plays fall in your lap. I feel like we played pretty good, man. It's the details that we can clean up that the people that's watching don't really understand. But that's the stuff that gets you into the playoffs, then the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, And once we get those little things cleaned up and we're giving up 0 points, next thing you know, a team has 20 rushing yards and 80 passing yards, and you dominate, But like I said, it's the details that get you to that point. So once we get that, we'll be rolling. Oh, I am the juice man now. I don't know if you know it or not, but yeah, that's the name they gave me back where I came from, and not because I try to show off or nothing. It's just who I am. I love the game. I love bringing the energy, bringing the juice. And I'm the juice man for that reason. So
Saints could use as many juice men as they can get. They need whoever. One thing, and I'm about to get in an extra point because we're running long here. I don't want to run too much longer, but one thing I didn't play this part of the clip, but before Charlie Smyth went and kicked the game winner, he was like on the sidelines, like sitting down next to Charlie Smyth, pumping him up. I'd love that. I mean, you need more players like this. By the way, Hope, they won a game. Wow. Another one who just comes in an hour into the show and wants to be funny. You haven't listened to a thing I've said. You think you watched the part where I'm talking about the positives? You think I'm all sunshine and roses? I've never been accused of that. We didn't even get to Chase Young. That's how good this defense played. Chase Young was a beast. Anyway, the first string defense I thought was, again, Kyler Murray didn't play. They had part of their second string in there. So I don't know how excited to get about it. You probably won't see much different with the 49ers this week either because they've got some injuries. I know McCaffrey's not going to play. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what you're talking about, Patrick. Can we get rid of the staple gun in the comments from DA? I'm not really sure what you mean there. I think, look, say what you want about DA. I think he's, I think one thing that I do like, look, there's a lot of things I don't, but I do think that he sounds like a different coach right now. And he's certainly more candid than any coach this team has had since probably Jim Mora. I don't know. Dick, I guess, was pretty candid, but he was candid in a, I don't want to say it. He was candid in a different way. Let's just say that. Anyway, interesting. We're going to talk more about this as camp goes along. The battle between Blake Grupe and Charlie Smyth. Look, you can't just say because Charlie Smyth kicked the game winner. He was playing in the second half, again, for a reason. I think, again, this is a situation where it's Blake Grupe's job to lose. He's got to lose it. But Charlie Smyth has so much more upside. Unlike Haener and Rattler, where, yeah, Rattler has more upside and he has a lower ceiling. I think Charlie Smith's upside is way higher than Blake Grupe's. And I'm not really sure that their floors aren't the same. So I don't know. My opinion is I'm not impressed with the Grupe at all. He missed some kicks last year, and he's missed kicks in camp. So show that comment about Grupe again that I didn't read, if you don't mind, Gabe. Smyth may steal it, Rocky says. He might. And I think at this point, Grupe's leg is absolutely like his leg is significantly stronger than Grupe. Now, I think part of his problem is that he's missing some of the short ones, but he didn't miss that one. You're talking about a guy, as Dennis Allen said, a guy who that was the first time he ever kicked a football in any game ever. Kicked an American football. Yeah. So, anyway. Big Sean, he sounds different because his job is on the line. I mean, Big Sean, I think his job was on the line before. They went 9-8. I'm not saying that's good by any means. I think it's different because he feels more confident. Look, I get all the criticism, DA. I'm not taking up for him per se. But if you're a Saints fan, I plead with you. You got to go into the season being at least hopeful. You might think they suck. Lord knows. When you hear my prediction on September 3rd, the Saints, when we do the NFC West, and my prediction for NFC West, I'm living 30 years ago. The NFC South, as Nicholas says, this is a make or break year for DA, no question. But when you hear my prediction, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I don't think this team's going to be very good because of the offensive line. But that doesn't mean as the Saints fan part of me doesn't go into the season not hoping that this team is 9-8 or 10-7 and has a chance to make and come Christmas, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. That's what I want. I mean, I want this team to be good. Big Sean says he was safe last year regardless. I disagree. If they had another 7-10 season with that schedule and had the same kind of season the Falcons had, where Art Smyth was immediately fired, I think he would have been going 7 wins tops this year. Might be right. I mean, that's kind of what I think too, which means he would be gone. But I'm saying last year, I don't think that last year was a done deal that he wasn't getting fired. In fact, in some ways, I think that if the Saints didn't have the run that they had towards the end of the season where they played much better, I think he might have been gone. They were in the playoff hunt until the last week. And if they do that again this year, I can tell you right now, you may hate it all you want. But if they're in the playoff race going into game number 17 and week 18 this year on January 5th or whatever day it is, he's not getting fired. I doubt it seriously. I just don't know if they're going to be able to survive that early part. Again, plenty of time to talk about that. But I'm just telling you, my point is, if you're a fan of this football team, makes zero sense to be rooting against Eric Carr. It makes zero sense to root against Dennis Allen. And it makes zero sense to root against your New Orleans Saints. Because all it does is get you frustration. Because first of all, you don't really mean it. Because when you're watching the game, you're going to be rooting for them to win. So you might as well just face reality. Don't be that person. Just because you think they're going to suck doesn't mean you don't root for them to win. I think they're going to suck. I hope I'm wrong. I want them to win. It's much more fun on a Monday to talk about a win than it is about a loss. JJ, we're keeping it positive, brother. As positive as we can possibly keep it after one preseason game and before we know anything and what's going to happen at left tackle. We'll come back to that. All right, so after today's dime, your dream of the Saints hoisting the Lombardi Trophy in February in their home at the Dome might be a bit dashed. But for you owners of a family-run or privately held business, the dream of retiring is very much alive. You want to know more about Evangeline Securities and how they can help you figure out what your business might be worth and whether it's time to sell? Well, lucky for you, my timing is impeccable. After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform, and there are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. Not the Saints and Derek Carr and Dennis Allen. That's fun. What's really important is the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. It's time for the extra point. Oh, the extra point. Oh, that extra point. Oh, we can keep on riding the Rattler train. It has to do with my extra point here. For much of the past, I don't know, hour, we have talked about what the Saints did in preseason game number 1. And for at least half of that time, we spent talking about what many Houdats are raving about and what my 26-year-old son calls the rat train. It is real. Rattler should be the secondary quarterback. No doubt about it, Haley says. But in today's extra point, we, as what fans might be saying, had Spencer Rattler had the same game this weekend as other quarterbacks who have yet to play a down in the NFL. Let's start with a player who actually has a chance to play this year. Bo Nix, you see him right there. Sean Payton's pet project. First off, I'm not sure why Sean Payton is continuing with the charade that Nix won't start in game 1 for the Broncos this season. Payton's ego is way too big to not suggest his quarterback whispering self can't turn this overrated rookie into a star. Who knows? Maybe he can. On Sunday against the second-string Colts defense, Nix was 15 to 21 for 125 yards, and man, he had that 1-yard touchdown pass. Broncos fans are probably lighting up the Rocky Mountain radio airwaves this morning saying, Nix is the next coming of John Elway. What about Stetson Bennett? Gabe Henderson. How about that Stetson Bennett? Rams played fourth-round pick Stetson Bennett nearly the entire game. He was 24-38, 224 yards. Forget about those 4 picks. He also threw a touchdown in a 13-12 win over the Dallas Cowboys. Somebody out there is riding the Stetson Bennett hype train. Fans going nuts for him in LA? I don't know. They probably don't even know the Rams played yesterday. I don't care. You want real hype? How about in Minneapolis? J.J. McCarthy tossed 2 third-quarter touchdown passes and was 11 of 17 for 188 yards. How pissed will the Hornheads be when Sam Darnold takes the opening snap at Giant Stadium on September 8th? The point of all this is there's nothing else to do in early August except to keep an eye on the tropics and to get overhyped about football players who likely won't have much of an impact on your favorite football team anytime in the near future. Even if Nix is the starter, one would have to say it would be a shock if the Broncos are even as good as their 8-9 record of 2023. Same goes for McCarthy, who would have to overwhelm the coaching staff to wrest the starting reins from Darnold. And Stetson Bennett, let's move on. I'm not here to dash your hopes, but I am trying to tamper your hatred for Derek Carr. Because let's get real. That's why most of you like Rattler so much. He's not Derek Carr. And you're hoping one day Rattler might make you forget he was even drafted during the Dennis Allen era. Wait. No. He was drafted by Clint Kubiak. Go ahead, New Orleans. Keep dreaming, and maybe one day you can brag for years and say, I told you so. I certainly won't take any joy if I am right. There's a part of me who wants to live on the magic carpet with you because as I sit here today, I am very worried when this season is over, there might not be much else to dream about than the future of Spencer Rattler. How's that for a Derry Downer finish? Where do you go from here? Well, I guess you wrap it up. Want to thank Gabe Henderson as always for his help. By the way, Jerry is saying Bennett went from a college national championship quarterback to Derek Carr Jr. Trash. Oh, Jerry. We're going to do this whole thing again on Wednesday. I want you all to come back. Today was awesome because we had more comments today than maybe ever. We had that one Friday. I don't know what it was about that Friday during last football season. We had people all the way from Araby to Angola. And I'm not talking about the prison. I'm talking about the country. There were people from everywhere comment. I don't know where they came from and how they found me that Friday, but they were everywhere. And look, I appreciate you. We wouldn't do this show. We couldn't do this show without you. And again, our YouTube page is growing. And I know so many people watch on Facebook and they like, you got to find our YouTube page. You got to be a part of us on the YouTube page. Don't forget about that. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're new to the show and you came back today, even if we didn't agree, make sure you come back. Come back Wednesday, and especially on Mondays. Again, Mondays. It's me, it's you, it's Gabe, and that's it. That's what we do on Mondays from here until February. We'll do it again on Wednesday. This time we will have Gabe back for another segment. I have no idea what Wednesdays with Gabe will be like. We'll say hello to Eric Asher. We're going to record his segment tomorrow. I'm going to get his thoughts on the quarterback battle. I think he's a Rattler fan. I know he's not an offensive line fan. None of us are. We'll get his thoughts on that. You can also catch me on his show this afternoon, Monday afternoon, inside New Orleans on the Ticket, 106.1 FM in New Orleans and online at 4:35 p.m. Be sure to look for all of Gabe's great stuff previewing the season and more at bet.nola.com and all of our Saints beat writers at nola.com/Saints. As for me, you know where to find me. Subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. Find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. On YouTube, click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcast, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. You can also find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. What a back and forth. We can't wait till Wednesday. We will see you then. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.